Hey folks, this is Sam from Vim. Today we're looking at how to use Power BI without using Power BI. Basically, we're going to use two different techniques to connect Power BI to your AI so that it can do the work for you for ingesting data, connecting that data, and then creating pretty much any kind of visuals that you want to share with your stakeholders. All right. So first thing is we're going to go on this GitHub page, and it's very badly documented, unfortunately. It's just very scary and terrifying the way that they've documented it, like you need to learn VS Code and be a programmer. Now, actually, the only thing that you really need from this page is this little snippet right here. So we're going to focus on this. And the first thing you need to do is install Node.js. So go install this. It's a requirement. And then the second thing you need is this little snippet. So we're going to copy that. Next thing you're going to do is go into your developer settings for Claude or Codex or whatever it is that you're using. And in here, we're going to go edit the configuration. This brings us to a page here where we have our Claude desktop configuration. And basically what we need to do is integrate that snippet of code in there. I'm not going to open that file because it has a bunch of API keys. But if you're not sure, basically what you can do is copy paste the snippet, copy paste everything that's in that file into Claude or Codex, and then ask it to make you a new thing to copy paste and bring that into your configuration file right here. And then you should close Claude, reopen it, and your MCP connection should now be valid. So that's for the MCP connection in itself. And we'll see in a minute what the differences between both are. So that's going to allow you to ingest and connect the data. But we also want to do the reports. And for the report, we need a second technique. And this technique is actually quite simple. All we need to do is save the file here under a different format. So it's a new format that Power BI is allowing us to use. It's a bit different. So normally we would say it's a Power BI file, PBIX. What we want to do is go towards PBIP, a Power BI project file. And what that does is it's going to expose basically the code and the JSON for your reports and your data model. So what that means is that you can do versioning easier, meaning if you change a report, it's going to change the JSON. And if you put that into GitHub to see the differences, you're going to be able to track it a lot easier. Now, I know for some of you, this may sound like absolutely weird gibberish, what I'm saying right now, but let's look at the file now that it's been saved. We have our PBIX here, which is our old file, which I'm just going to delete at this point. And now we have our PBIP. And look here, we have the semantic model folder. And we have a report folder. So when I look in here, or if I point the AI to these folders, that means that they can modify the report and they can see and modify the semantic model. All right, so let's start the tutorial. First thing I'm going to do is set up a new folder for this tutorial. And what I've done in this file is that I've created a little Excel file with some fake estimation data that can be connected with the data. So we have pipes and we give them a value in here per cost. So for example, here we have sprinklers or curtain mullions, and we're just going to give a very simple value. So per unit, not per length or anything like that, just for the sake of this tutorial's brevity. Okay, now it is worth noting that we have a fantastic star-shaped schema for our data in Power BI. So obviously we're not starting from scratch here. We have some good data science to connect to, and we're simply looking to integrate into it. So actually, when we use the MCP, we keep Power BI open, unlike when we create reports where we have to close Power BI. So I'm just going to minimize this, and here's my prompt. There's an Excel file in this folder, and it's got some estimation data. I want you to import the data and connect it with the element table, which is right at the heart of our star schema. So we are on Opus 5. That's a good model, right? You definitely don't want to be doing this on Sonnet or Haiku. You want Opus or higher. So let's give it a whirl and see how it goes. So the interesting thing with the MCP is that it imports and it connects data to the data model. And ironically, when you learn Power BI, that is the first thing that you need to do. And it's the most complicated thing that you can do. So it's really a big blocker usually, right? Because you go, hey, you need to do this. And you kind of need to be an expert to do this. So it's really nice to unlock that data right away. And it means that if we have a customer that's not quite sure how to do it, well, they can save hundreds of hours of consulting fees by just going through the MCP and doing it themselves. And then we can check it for them. And it really scales up that value and that work of using Power BI to integrate different data pieces. Now, the thing with the MCP is that it doesn't do reports. It's not going to read your report. It's not going to create or edit any kind of report. For that, we're simply going to point the AI to the folder here where it can read these report files and these semantic model files and just modify them. Now, of course, if you're going to be modifying files, we always recommend that you put your file on GitHub, right? GitHub is going to be a way to have backups, to see the differences between changes. And so if you make a major mistake, you can always go back. And this is a more structured way of working. We'll do a video on that a bit later. But in the meantime, if you're curious about using GitHub, just ask Claude or Codex how to set it up. And if you have a free account, you'll be able to do that very intuitively if you're being guided by your AI to set up GitHub. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably already know why this is so exciting. Power BI is super powerful and it's perfect for BIM, right? Revit lets you create a bunch of data, but it's terrible for presenting that data, for letting people analyze, navigate that data, and so forth. Where Power BI is fantastic for ingesting, connecting data from Revit, from IFC, from Naviswork to other data, whether it's estimations, scheduling, carbon footprint, so forth, and then presenting it to thousands of people where they can navigate it, not like in a static PDF, but really an interactive Tableau where they can see the relation, where they can see upcoming problems, where they can really pinpoint into different things and also even sometimes customize the data and start changing the data and analyzing different possibilities for the best long-term cost and results. So Power BI is fantastic, but people don't have the time to learn it. And sometimes, you have a model and you're just kind of blocked and you're like, I really wish I could connect my estimation or my safety data and then do this report, but people don't really have time to learn it. It's mostly learned by accountants, by people doing human resources, HR, and so forth. And the BIM people that should be using it don't have the luxury of time to learn it. And same thing with facility managers. They don't have, or building owners, they don't have the time to learn it. And they're afraid of getting a consultant, for example. So unlocking this through AI is extremely fantastic, especially when 98% of the work has already been done. There's a strong data model. Everything is polished. You just need that last 5% to connect your specific needs to the report and then share it. So this is really where we're bridging this today with this video. And that's why I'm so excited to show it to you. So actually, if we look at them side by side, we can see it's already imported the cost data table and it's not connected yet. It's still working through it. And here we go. It's relationed it. I'm just going to move this so it's a bit more visible, bring it a bit closer to the Vim element table. Okay, so the operation is done. It just took under 10 minutes. And let's actually go see, as a bunch of data nerds, what actually happened in this table. So we see here it kind of cleaned up the Excel file. It changed the types and so forth. So nothing really crazy. I wasn't expecting anything crazy in the Power Query view, but I did want to see what kind of operation it did, if any. All right, so that means, as we see here, it says, hey, MCP can't actually do reports, but the data is ready to work with. So let's go in here real quick. And obviously, this is all placeholder data. So I'm just going to expand this table real quick, and we're going to drop the unit cost in here. And instead of a count, we're going to ask for a sum. So right here, we're starting to see some data. What's happening right now is we're giving a cost per type. So see here, for example, there's 567 of these walls, and it's just saying $42 each. So we need to say to multiply it per element, not just to connect the data per type. So I'm just going to have this little correction in here, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so just a little 2-minute upgrade. And what it's telling me is that it created a unit cost column in the Vim element table. So let's go hunt for that. And I'm just going to drag this right here. And here we go. We have our little formula here so we can start getting our proper estimation instead of just seeing the unit cost. So as I mentioned earlier, this is very demo-y, right? Where, for example, all the walls have the same cost, no matter the length, no matter the area, and so forth. So this is not a super realistic estimation. It's only 2 prompts at the moment. But basically, we've got the data imported, we've got the data connected, and we even created a formula that we can drag and drop that can extrapolate on our data exactly how we want to see it for our estimation. So the next step would be to create more detailed estimation based on historical data, where the estimator can edit the Excel sheet and so forth. And the beauty of it is that if an estimator just goes into the Excel sheet and starts changing this data with or without AI, when they refresh the table here, when they simply say refresh the single table, it's going to update the cost everywhere else. Okay, so this is how we use MCP with Power BI. We set it up, we point it to some data, we let it connect the data, and we ask it for any kind of specific columns that we need for our purposes. And what it's missing is the creation of report, which is exactly what we're going to be looking at next. So the creation of report, as I mentioned earlier, is by letting the AI modify these files here. And to do that, what we need to do for safety is simply close Power BI so that it's not going to be fighting with us on those files. All right, so Power BI is closed. We're going to send our query. Let's go. So what's interesting in this comparison is that when there's changes to the data model, both the MCP and the JSON can do it. But when you do it with the MCP, it can validate the data as well. So it can guess what needs to be changed, do the changes, do the quality control, and then tell you, yes, I did the changes and it works. You can also do the data changes within just the JSON files, but it's not going to be able to test it. And how you're going to test it, we're probably going to see this really quickly. How you're going to test it is you're going to open the file in Power BI and it's going to give you a list of errors, and you're going to have to feed that back to the AI until there's no more errors. So it's going to require a bit more fiddling where you're opening and closing Power BI and you're kind of working for it instead of with it to let it resolve those things. So you want to do as much of the data stuff within MCP. And then when you want to do more of the report, that's where it's more appropriate to use the open and close JSON techniques that are basically a bit more energy consuming for the human in the loop, meaning you. Oh, that's new. I didn't realize it could actually open Power BI by itself. New capability, I guess. So usually when it tells me it's ready, I open the Power BI myself. It's actually using computer use right now. So it's taking screenshots, it's looking at the screenshots, and I think it's going to maybe even start clicking around. All right, I'm just going to stop it because it's much faster for me to actually go and look at these pages. Okay, so these are the pages that it created completely on its own without much guidance, really. This is interesting. So it's showing me how much stuff is actually estimated versus not estimated, where the cost is located inside of the models and so forth. And it seems to do this very classic error, which it will not actually put enough space in here for the data to be visible. So frankly, this is so minor, right? Because you can just resize these and you won't have any kind of cutting in there. But you could also just kind of tell it, hey, you keep doing this error. Let's make a skill for you to make sure to understand like that you're not giving enough space for these graphs to breathe. But yeah, I think we're at like 4 prompts right now about less than a paragraph of data entered, and we already have some Power BI reports. Now, of course, at this point, you could start saying, this makes no sense, this is better, I want to go more in this direction. You could also just do it yourself, right? Start doing Power BI as a regular, normal human without the augmentation of AI. But basically, we've done the entire loop. We've ingested the data, we've modified it so that it's connected to our data model, and we've created these reports with so little amount of work. And obviously I know Power BI, but if you don't know Power BI, you can get to the same results very quickly. And obviously it can be extremely useful as you learn Power BI to iterate, to understand, to develop your data model, and to start customizing your data model for your own needs. Now, one thing we didn't come across is an error. So it's very possible that in the second phase, you open the Power BI report and it says, you can't open this, there's an error. Please click here to copy paste the error code. So in that case, you simply copy paste the error code, you put it back into Claude, you close Power BI, you let it work, and once it's ready, you reopen it, and hopefully by then the error will be gone. So as I mentioned, there's going to be a couple things that are going to be complementary to this, creating skills, putting this up on GitHub, and so forth. We'll be looking at that in future videos, but I hope this was helpful. Frankly, this is kind of the most revolutionary capabilities from Power BI and AI this year. So I was a bit surprised to not see a whole lot of discussion on it. Mostly, I was very disappointed by the absolutely confusing way of explaining this here, right? They make it sound like you're going to be an archaeologist and you're going to need to be this master programmer, where all you really need is this little thing here and installing Node.js. So for everybody that's tried to get into this obtuse document and just gave up because you're not a programmer, hopefully this video unlocked you and you're going to be able to boost up your Power BI game, whether it's with Vim for doing BIM analysis and so forth, or whether it's for something completely unrelated like human resources, finances, and so forth. I hope this helped you. I hope this is going to make your work easier and liberate some of your time to do something better and enjoy the summer.